summertime and it's hot. The heat index is 111. Check this out. Riding in the summer can be uncomfortable, especially if your fan isn't working on your ATV. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how you can probably solve that issue and hopefully get you back on the trail and keep your ATV cool. Most every ATV will have a fan and a radiator up behind the front grille. Right up on here, you'll see we've got the radiator and we've got the fan connected to the back of that. If this isn't running, it's not cooling off your coolant, which isn't cooling off the cylinder head on your ATV. That coolant runs through tubes, goes down through a water pump, and circulates around the cylinder head. So if your fan isn't running, your coolant's just going to be getting to engine temperature and your engine's just going to get overheated. So essentially that fan is going to be blowing air through your radiator, or sucking air in this case on the back, sucking air through there, cooling off the radiator, which is going to cool off the coolant mixture and keep your engine running cool. So what happens if your fan isn't running? The engine overheats. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to hopefully solve that. Now the cooling fan on your ATV is controlled by a temperature sensor, and if that temperature sensor is faulty, it's not going to be turning the fan on. It's not going to be telling the fan, hey, you need to turn on to cool that liquid down to keep that engine cool. So you may need to go in, check that temperature sensor, do an ohms test or a voltage test to make sure that that sensor is working right and it's switching that fan on or off. If it's not the temperature sensor, then you may need to go through and check the connections on your ATV. Go through the electrical, make sure you're getting voltage from the battery to the temperature sensor on the fan, make sure the fan is plugged in correctly. If any of those connections along the wiring harness are loose, you're not going to have good connections, which can cause the fan to be intermittent and a lot of other things. Just make sure all your connections are good. While you're at it, go through and dielectric grease them like I did in this video. You can check that one out. How to go through the entire ATV, put some dielectric grease on your plugs and hopefully keep it a little more waterproof, and make sure on those connectors that you're getting them to lock together. They've got a little security snap on them, so you'll hear a click when those connectors go together. So just go through the ATV, make sure they're all connected good. Probably one of the easiest things you can check is to go in your fuse box and check the fuses. So in your fuses here, go ahead and check the fan fuse and check your diode, and if those are okay, it still might not be working. Check your fan relay and make sure that is operating properly, because even if the fuse and diode are fine, the faulty relay could prevent the fan from starting up. So you may just need to test that relay, make sure it's good, or just replace it if it's bad. Now this may not be the case with every ATV, but some ATVs, the fan is controlled by an ECU unit or a control module that turns the fan on and off. So if there's an issue with that ECU or that module, it might not be sending the signal to turn that fan on and keep the engine cool. So the way to fix this issue is check related fault codes or run a diagnostic tool so you can scan and see what the issue is. So after you've gone through everything and you've checked over it all, but your fan is still not turning on and cooling the engine down, it may be, now this is a less likely issue, but it may be that your thermostat is stuck. So you'll have to check your thermostat to make sure that the valve is operating properly, so it's opening and closing at the proper temperatures. Now this is a less common issue, but I have seen it on a couple machines, so last resort, that might be your issue. So after going through and checking over everything on the ATV, hopefully you've got your fan issue solved. So hopefully these tips help you out in getting your fan working again. It might just be something simple like a connection, and they'll get your fan working again. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Be sure to like down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.